All right, guys. So I was curious to talk about this. Apparently, Asmongold gave his take on Russell Brand. I don't know what the take is. Um, I'll put my take in the description. We went through the whole entire article.
All right.
We went through the entire thing. Like, it was an hour and 12-minute breakdown. It's chaptered a little bit. It's going to be under sources for anybody that wants to take a look at it. I'll make it the first one. And yeah, so I did a deep dive into it. It seems like some of the allegations have credibility. Obviously, we won't know until everything is finalized, and we'll get more into it as we go. But apparently, Hasan's chat or Hasan's Reddit, because Reddit is such a valuable place, decided to clip Asmongold, or they're claiming clip him out of context. It's 37 seconds. We'll watch it really quick, and I thought it was taken down. But then after that, I'm going to watch Asmongold's actual take, because that's what I'm more curious in. So here's what the take says.
Obviously, a lot of people instantly defend him, and then a lot of people also go and instantly attack him. Because Russell Brand is a polarizing guy.
Sure.
Now, I actually kind of like Russell Brand and a lot of things that he's said. Like, I have a positive viewpoint of Russell Brand overall, right? I don't think he's a bad dude, if that makes sense. And I think that every single time that something like this happens, and none of the accusations stick, which I kind of think that they won't stick with Russell Brand. I'm going to be honest. I think they're not going to stick. I don't think he's going to go to jail. And if Russell Brand doesn't go to jail, then he didn't do it.
Yeah, so I don't know the context of it, so we're going to watch this full thing. And that's what's on the agenda for today. So let's get it started. And we're going to play WoW while we do it, but classic WoW, because I just can't handle retail. Let's go.
We attack. It's this dude, right? It's this dude. This is a long time ago, right? He doesn't look like that anymore. He's got more gray hair now. It's more like this dude, right? And so
Sure.
Anyway, Russell Brand gets accused of being...
Bro, it's wild with all the WoW music in his background. It's like, dude, turn it down. Am I right? Am I right, fellas?
like I don't really know the extent, right? Sexual harasser, sexual assault, rape.
Yeah, so from what I remember looking at, the one that got me, I'm gonna turn mine down a little bit. The one that got me more than anything else was there was one girl that he allegedly assaulted, like tried to force himself onto. I think she ended up running away before anything like serious happened. And when she got home, according to the article, and this is according to her as well, if you take the article as credible, she texted him after that and said, like, no means no, like what you did was not okay, and Russell Brand apologized, which is to me an admittance that he did sexually, something, this girl, harassed, assault, something along those lines. There was one relationship with like a 16-year-old. It was legal where he was, but I still think it's disgusting. I think laws need to catch up, because obviously there are men who need to like have that. They need to be told explicitly you cannot date 16-year-olds, because there's always something really inappropriate about even if it's legal. A 30-year-old trying to talk to a 16-year-old. I mean, you're in a wildly different place in your life. You have money over her. You have power over her. You have age over her. You have life experience over her. It's a recipe for disaster in general. And like, I feel like her mother should have done more about it, but it's legal there, so I guess she felt like she couldn't. So I understand. I bring up the mother because I don't know about the father. What he was in reference in the article. But like, yeah, and then he did some like very, like, if you read the article, or you can listen to me read it in my video, like from the way they talked about it, like it was disgusting to say the least. There was a lot of alleged downplaying of his actions in the BBC, I believe he was associated with at the time. And there was allegations that he would be very inappropriate sexually, and that they would downplay it. And to be honest with you, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I would believe it. I mean, his entire persona is about being sexually aggressive and like being sexually inappropriate with people. Like that is his whole thing. So I really wouldn't doubt that he did these things. Me not doubting them doesn't make it true, though. Like being very clear. I just really wouldn't doubt it based on the way that he's portrayed himself online. But that doesn't mean that he is guilty legally of anything. It was also interesting that his big downplay was basically very conspiracy-esque, like the media's after me. It's possible, but you hear a lot of that, like, oh, there's a what do they usually, there's some kind of a matrix out to get me, when it's possible that these things really did happen, but Sure.
Something in that spectrum, right? Like actual serious shit, serious bad shit, right? He gets accused of this. And a groomer, I didn't hear the grooming part. I was not aware of that. Yeah, that would be the 16-year-old. And so he gets accused of this. Obviously, a lot of people instantly defend him. And then a lot of people also go and instantly attack him.
Sure.
Because Russell Brand is a polarizing guy. Now, I actually kind of like Russell Brand and a lot of things that he said. Like, I remember I used to watch The Truce. This was like a show that he did. I'm talking like this is like 2010 back on YouTube. And I would watch this like every day. I liked him. It doesn't mean I agree with everything he says. I haven't listened to anything he said probably in 5 years, probably longer than that. But like, I have a positive viewpoint.
So far, nothing really like bad. It's just like Asmongold kind of talking before he seemingly looks into it. I don't know. I guess the Hasan crew got triggered by it.
Of Russell Brand
I think
overall,
it was the Hasan
right?
crew.
I don't think he's a bad dude, if that makes sense. YouTube has demonetized Russell Brand's account.
Interesting.
And this happened maybe 2 days ago or so.
I haven't really, that's interesting. Here's my thing. I'm not going to immediately say that's good or bad. It's a complicated thing. I guess that was his follow-up. This might be the video he said. So I guess this is his follow-up talking about that. Here's the thing. And maybe, I guess we could watch that, but I don't know if I'm super... Maybe that will add that's like the tail end of the segment. Here's my thing. I think it's a bad precedent to set to demonetize somebody over non-confirmed allegations. I don't think that's a hot take. That being said, it's possible that maybe somebody in the back end of YouTube read the article and confirmed some of the information, and they decided that they didn't want somebody like that on their platform. And in that case, I'd say, okay, I don't know if we have a confirmation of that, but I'd say, okay, fair enough, kind of a thing.
Where YouTube took away all of his monetization. Russell Brand gets demonetized on YouTube.
And then there's also another thing to be said that, like, if then there's the other question I have is, did they get pressured by advertisers to drop him? Because that's another thing as well. Like, did YouTube get pressure from advertisers? Go, we should drop him because we don't want them to pull out and have another, like, whatever they called it, adpocalypse.
And YouTube gets they basically, like, they go and they take the monetization off his channel. So, like, if you go to Russell Brand's YouTube channel, now they did not ban him, but they took monetization off his channel. I think this was a mistake for YouTube. I do.
Okay.
And here's why I think it's a mistake. It's because R. Kelly is monetized. It's because Cardi B
very based take, actually. True. That's fair.
Is monetized, who literally said that she used to dudes and take their money.
That's not what she said. To be clear, that's not what she said. I almost guarantee that's not what she said. I'm pretty sure that she said she used to drug people and steal from them. So just want to be very clear. I have no problem with you directing me to the right resource, but because I've looked into this before, from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, please do. She didn't rape anybody. It was that she would drug them and steal. It's still very wrong, but I think stealing is probably not as bad as raping somebody. Is this something that I just haven't heard about? Did she actually, like... Like, is that actually an accusation? Like, I feel like I've never heard that before. Or I've heard people say that, but it's not, like, it was the drugging and stealing. Yeah, that's not my understanding. If you guys want to send me a resource, you can. I have no problem with that, but that's not my understanding of what actually happened. Did she sleep with those men? Maybe she slept with them and then drugged them and took their money. But from what I've looked into, I mean, it seemed like the intention was to have sex. I mean, I think that they were back. They would take her back to their place or something, and then she would drug them and steal their shit. But let's just move on.
Whenever she used to be a stripper. So how the fuck are you going to demonetize this guy over an accusation Meanwhile, you got these other pieces of shit. R. Kelly is in fucking jail. It's not even an allegation, bro.
I think the R. Kelly one is a better argument to be made, but the Cardi B one, I'm not so sure. It's still not good that she would drug and steal from people, but
like they brought out a whole documentary series.
I thought that she drugged them and to lower their guard, she slept with them. I didn't hear that. I mean, I could be wrong. My understanding was that like that's not actually part of it, but I could just be wrong. Let's move on.
About R. Kelly, like this wasn't just one episode. This was one season. He's in fucking jail. And so you're going to go and tell me that R. Kelly is going to be monetized on YouTube, but Russell Brand isn't.
True that.
Get the fuck out of here. Here's the way I look at it, is that I think that if there is substantial evidence for this, he should go to trial, and if he's guilty, he should go to jail. And I think if there's not substantial evidence, then he's not guilty. It's that simple to me, man. Like, I don't have an investment in this. Like, I don't give a fuck.
Okay. Well, yeah, I could see where some of the dishonest framing comes from. Like he's just saying like if there's evidence for it, he's guilty, and if there's not, he's not guilty. It seemed like they were trying to say, yeah, okay.
Well,
hey, what's up, Carl? How you doing, brother?
This is some dude in the UK.
Bro, how am I dying? I don't know.
Like, I don't get why this. I don't know him. Like, this isn't like, yeah, it's hard to know whether it's true. So, like, that's the way, because like I don't want it to be true, because that means somebody would have been fucking raped, right? So like in a way I don't want it to be true, but I do want, you know, what happened to be addressed, if that makes sense. And so anyway, that's my take on it, right? Anyway, on like whether he's guilty or not.
R. Kelly isn't on YouTube beyond what his record to. So is your argument that like R. Kelly's not sharing his thoughts, it's his music, so it's more okay? I don't know. I still think it's a fair point.
So like, let's just get that off the table, because none of us really know. I don't really like talking a lot about the morality of things, because I find it boring.
Well,
so we'll talk a little bit more about like the functional effect of what YouTube did.
Okay, that's fair, I guess.
Now YouTube just created a frame of reference for what is acceptable and not acceptable to be monetized on their platform. And now, because they demonetized Russell Brand, everybody else is going to go and be like, what about R. Kelly? What about Cardi B?
Sure.
What about all these other fucking people I'm just not thinking of right now?
Sure.
So the problem is that now, every time that somebody does something bad, people are going to want YouTube to demonetize it. Which
it's possible. Sure. The argument that like now this might open the door to other people demanding demonetization, that could happen. That question is Twitter, or excuse me, is YouTube going to feed into that? Right? That's more of the conversation.
Which is going to cause a lot of problems for YouTube, and it's going to open an entire fucking...
I mean, if they just ignore it, it won't really cause much problems. You know what I mean? If they start leaning into it, into pressure, sure. Me personally, I haven't seen anybody pressuring. That's what I'm curious about. But yeah, that's possible if they do start pressuring.
Window of issues that they didn't originally have to deal with. And they created this problem themselves. Do you think conspiracies are true because he talks about the Matrix and stuff became a target? I think it's probably...
No, I don't think that that's what it is. It's one of those things where it's like people are doubting Russell Brand. I mean, I think he's capable of doing this. Obviously. I mean, his entire brand was being sexually inappropriate. Like, no fucking shit. It's possible that the stories are sensationalized too. You know, it's possible that some of it's true, but like it's not. You know, it can be very complicated when it comes to the conversation about sex and boundaries. But you know, it's not like we're talking about like the fucking Dalai Lama, you know. But you know, then again, there was that whole thing going on with the tongue, so I don't know.
A mix, right? I think that there's a lot of people who don't like what he says. People don't like what he said about COVID. People don't like what he said about the Matrix and conspiracies and shit like that. And I think there's also people who think that he's fucking guilty aside from that. Because there's people that have the outlook that you should always treat...
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Nadia, who was R-worded in 2012, went to a crisis center and got her kid done. They have medical evidence now, too. Interesting. That's a good point. I had forgot about that aspect of the article. Yeah, there might be, you know, if the article is credible, and I wouldn't doubt it, there might be actual legitimate evidence. Well, there would only be... Here's the thing. There would be evidence of not necessarily assault. I don't think that they can necessarily determine that it would be assault based on that by itself. They might be able to determine, because I think they froze the DNA, right? From what I remember. It's not necessarily evidence that that it was assault. It is evidence that they slept together, though. So
people who get accused, as
and I remember her saying she didn't want to go to the police because she was like afraid that the audience wouldn't believe her and nobody would really care, and it made sense what she was talking about. Again, you'd want to parse through the entire article or my telling of it in the description, but
are guilty. The believe all women thing. I don't think this is healthy for anybody, but this is the mindset they have. A lot of people, by the way, that have that mindset, I think, are using it to work through their own past trauma. They had a bad experience with a guy whenever they were younger or at another point in their life, and they didn't get the justice they felt like they deserved. And then now they go on the internet, and every person who accuses something, they put themselves in that person's shoes, and
sure. I think that there's also conversation to be had about how there's a reward for accusing people on the internet of bad behavior. And I know that sounds shitty, but like here's the thing, I think that that's what he's saying is 100% true. Absolutely. I think that there are also instances on the internet, though, where we will see people being glorified for coming forward with stuff that's not even necessarily confirmed. I mean, what do we see? Like the whole Super Mega thing was fucking ridiculous. And specifically about how they tried to blame Super Mega for what was going on. Not getting into it, you can go watch my videos. But I think that there is now a reward structure for people to come forward with, I wouldn't even call them false accusations, but sensationalized accusations. We all have past experiences that we filter through our younger self, right? Like, let's say you have a really bad experience when you're like 13. We're not even going to go to anywhere insane. Let's say you piss yourself when you're 13, right? When you look back at that, you're not going to look back at that as your 33-year-old self. You're going to look back at that and you're going to go back, you're going to regress back to that space where you were a 13-year-old kid pissing your fucking pants. You can only be so lucky that Adam Sandler comes out and goes, it's cool to pee your pants, because that would make you feel better. Unfortunately, that didn't happen to me. That story's not about me. Sorry. That didn't happen to my friend. But you filter that through the worst thing. But nowadays, like I've shit myself because I had a bad meal. Like I just go for a fart, oops, and I'm like, damn, I'm a little embarrassed, but it is what it is. I just excuse myself from the table, and go, sharded. You know what I mean? We all have a good laugh, and it's not like I wanted to be at the table anyway. It was just a dinner with my mother-in-law. I don't want to be around that bitch. No, I'm just kidding. I like my mother. I love my mother-in-law. But I think a lot of us have a tendency to have a negative experience when we're younger, and then we filter it through that negative experience. Like I remember I had a friend, and I let him borrow my PlayStation 2, and he didn't give it back very fast, and I hated him after that. And I was like, yeah, I hate that guy. And then years later, I looked and I was like, you know what? I don't know why the fuck I hated this guy. It was not even a big deal. I think that we sometimes do that as well. And I think that looking back, you'll remember the emotion more than you'll remember the specific details. And sometimes people can have a negative experience with somebody and they can remember the negative emotion they had associated with it. And then all of a sudden they create a story like based on how they felt. They were like, this person did this to me and it felt so wrong. And like, it was really, and they kind of work off of that. It doesn't mean that their feelings aren't valid, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the other person intended to hurt them. And it gets into a very complicated conversation about a lot of different things.
And they pretend like it's their situation all over again. That's what I think happens. And that's why I think you have so many people that have this mindset. And I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's good. I don't think anybody thinks that. Point is that I think it's probably a mix. I think Russell Brand does have inconvenient politics. It's just true.
I think my only criticism so far is like I think that it would have been more productive if he had actually read through the article before talking about this. That's my only thing so far. He doesn't really seem to know anything about what's going on. And so it seems silly for him to not at least read the article. That's my outside of that. The way that he was framed so far on the video just seems to be like obviously trying to make it seem like he's defending like a fucking rapist. When I think Asmongold is just talking about something that he should have done more to educate himself on. But even if he did more to educate himself on it, I don't think that his conclusion would be much different. To be honest with you, it's still a lot of it is alleged, and we don't know 100% if it did happen. Although, again, I don't doubt it. I think it happened. That doesn't mean anything. I'm not a court of law. I'm not even saying that you should think that it happened. I just think based on the context of what I read and the context of the kind of person that he is, like I would not doubt it. But yeah,
like whether you agree with his politics or not, you have to admit they are inconvenient for corporations. Russell Brand, back in the day, went up on a Hugo Boss this was fucking funny. This is in like 2008. Hugo Boss is a manufacturer of like clothing. They do like really nice clothing, and they've been doing it for a long time. In fact, one of the main things that
sounds like he's concerned someone will come forward about him. Are you talking about Asmongold? Wait, why do you think that? It doesn't sound like that at all.
Some flashy clothing they used to make back in the 40s was for the Nazis. And so
Oh,
Russell Brand
shit.
comes up at their event on stage and gets the fucking microphone and starts talking about this shit. And everybody loses their fucking mind. And so, yeah, absolutely.
I bet he was making them look pretty erect. Like the Third Reich is a bad joke. Sorry. Hey, bad stuff.
A lot of corporations are not a fan of Russell Brand. That's just
yeah.
what
I
it
don't
is.
think Asmongold's worried about his relationship with women. Let's be real. I don't think that this guy has a sex drive in any capacity. So, I'm just saying.
So the truth is, like, yeah, I think it's probably a bit of both. Doesn't this decision make YouTube a publisher then? Not necessarily, because they're not publishing anything, they're monetizing it. It's different because they did not ban Russell Brand. He is not banned on YouTube. However, monetized content is promoted more in the algorithm. And of course, if people can make a living on the website, and YouTube is the arbiter on who can and cannot make a living on the website.
He sounds like he's defending too hard. I don't think he's defending too hard, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
And they use arbitrary criteria, and it is enforced.
I think that like everybody else, lives in a social media sphere that has historically, been wildly incorrect about some accusations, and people are going to be hesitant, and then like that's just the reality of the world, and it only takes a couple times before you start to develop like, oh fuck this kind of a thing, and start becoming very skeptical, maybe even over skeptical, which I would argue here, but I get it.
Effectively, this is a problem. So I it's not that I think that it's okay that they do it. Like it is kind of okay, right? It's their platform, but I think it's a bad decision. I think it sets a bad precedent, and I don't want to see a world. I don't want to be in a world where every time somebody gets accused of something, they get automatically deplatformed or demonetized.
Sure, I agree with that.
I think that's unfair. I think it's unhealthy. It doesn't do anybody any favors. It doesn't help anyone. It doesn't.
It does not. It doesn't help. It not only does. It doesn't even help the person accusing necessarily. I don't think that living in an environment of over affirmation is helpful for anybody. I think that one of the biggest problems when it comes to mental health on the internet is over affirmation in different capacities, because it just leads to fucking you up mentally. You see people on TikTok all the time who are sitting there talking about all their like past potential traumas that they have going on. And I'm not saying that they don't have those traumas, and those are very valid. The problem is if you look at this from a more mental health perspective, and you try to personalize it more, what's happening when people are like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, this, that, and the other thing, it's not good for your mental health. Like, to be clear, let's give you for an instance, and I've said this before, let's say you go to a therapist and, you're having a bad experience with like a past potential trauma or something that happened in your life. At the end of the day, that experience is about you, right? And you go there and you listen to the therapist, and you talk to the therapist, and let's say, you talked about how something really horrible happened to you when you were like, 15 years old. There's 3 reactions the therapist can have, generally speaking. Reaction number 1, they can go, oh my God, I'm so sorry that happened to you. That's terrible. That's not a good reaction. They could also go, oh, who really cares? That's not a good reaction. Or they can sit there and listen to you and go like, okay, so how did this interaction make you feel? Because you are in an emotionally vulnerable state at that moment, and having and to add for the therapist to talk to you in a way could guide your emotions and lead you in a way that's not going to have a positive mental health impact. So when you're talking to somebody that's had something terrible happen to them, you just have to meet them where they're at and meet them with what they need. You don't want to be over or under affirming. I think it's bad for people, especially in like a heightened emotional state, to have that happen to them. And I think that that's what's happening when some people do come forward with accusations, is that they're in a heightened emotional state. It doesn't mean that they're wrong in any capacity, but over affirmation, I don't think it has a positive impact on their mental health. You kind of have to deal with these in stride in the right way.
Make any situation better. And I think that every single time that something like this happens and none of the accusations stick, which I kind of think that they won't stick with Russell Brand. I'm going to be honest. I think they're not going to stick.
I kind of disagree. I think that they're going to stick, to be honest with you. We'll see, though.
I don't think he's going to go to jail. And if Russell...
that might be true. I don't know if he's going to go to jail. That doesn't necessarily mean he doesn't get a punishment. But
Brand doesn't go to jail, then he didn't do it, right?
Okay.
That's and I'm not telling you like what I think. I'm telling you what people are going to think. Is it if he
yeah, like that's what's going to happen. If he doesn't get put in jail, people are going to think that it's another fake one, and he's going to be able to talk about how he was wronged again, and he's going to be able to say this is just a big conspiracy. And like, yeah, I understand the point that he's making when it comes to this topic. Sure.
doesn't go to jail, he didn't do it. It's that simple.
Yeah, this doesn't seem to be Asmongold actually saying if he doesn't go to jail, he didn't do it. I think he's just saying that's how people are going to perceive it.
So, if this goes and happens, it's just going to be another point where people, it's going to strengthen people's reflex to automatically think that women are liars. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, like I was just saying before, if somebody has an interaction with somebody that they feel is lying, that just sours them in the future. So like when somebody comes forward with a false accusation, and I don't think that this is that, but you would argue that this could be, if it was an unproven one, it might be perceived as that. But if somebody comes forward with a false accusation, people will look at that and they'll be like, oh, look, another false accusation. Somebody else got deplatformed, and now they're going to be less likely to believe the next person that comes forward about something.
I'm saying, just like OJ went to jail. And also tons of people think OJ didn't do it. Also, tons of people don't give a fuck.
I don't know if I'd use OJ as an example.
And also, sexual crimes are seen differently than violent crimes. That's just the way society is. His reputation's already done because of this? I don't think so.
No.
I think obviously
it's not done because of this. His audience is completely bought into the idea that like he is like a victim of some kind of a matrix. Like they're it's not over at all.
Obviously, I think the people that I think there's definitely like a certain amount of people that like are, you know, they're not going to like him anymore. But
sure.
I think that he'll also garner more of an audience of the people that are like the anti-cancel culture, like fucking like that
sure.
kind of crowd. I think that they're going to be like even more supportive of him after this. OJ went to jail for theft. Yeah, but he went to jail though, right? And like, again, see, everybody always likes to...
I think we all think OJ did it. Like, I feel like that's the meme now, no?
Get into the specifics, but what you forget is that the public doesn't care about the specifics. The public just sees things in a very black and white perspective.
I think that most of the public aren't going to... This is the problem. Most people in the public aren't going to do their time to parse through the actual information, and they're going to listen to their favorite, talking head tell them what they're supposed to think and feel about these topics, right? I think that's what's going to happen more than anything else. So
OJ did something bad, he went to jail for it, he probably did the murder. It's that simple.
Sure.
Like that, it's literally that simple. Like you go ask like 10 people on the street what OJ went to jail for, that's what they're going to tell you. It's just how it is. People are fucking stupid. So, yeah, it did damage his reputation for sure. It definitely did. Problem with sexual crimes is consent. Some people revoke their consent afterwards and some years after. Well, here's the problem, right? Is that whenever a person like Russell Brand gets demonetized and then the accusations don't stick, then everybody accuses or assumes that it was a false accusation, right? Because it's one thing if you get accused of something, but it's another thing if your life is fundamentally altered or negatively affected because of the accusation. Like, for example, like if you get demonetized, right? Or somebody says something bad about you and it actually damages your career. And if this happens to you, and then people see that, and they're like, whoa, I don't want this to happen to me, right? Johnny Depp, yeah, it's probably a good example too. But it's a bit more complicated, but sure. Like, then they're going to automatically, the next time a girl comes out and she says, hey, this dude did this shit that's wrong, people are going to reflexively assume that she's a liar.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened. That's what happened after the Amber Heard thing. How many times have guys come out and been accused of something and actually been kind of proven that they kind of did it? But at the beginning, people say, oh, it's just like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. In the last year, how many times?
Yeah, they'll always use that as a defense. I even think that like Andrew Tate used that as a defense at some point. Yeah, they'll always use it as a defense, and that's enough for some people to buy into it. Sure.
How many times have y'all seen that? Zero? I've seen it a number of times. Yeah, I have. I pay attention to this shit. None? I've experienced it doing it now? Yeah, I see it a lot. Literally with this situation? Yeah, absolutely. I've seen a lot. It's really sad to see. Absolutely. I pay attention to a lot of this stuff. And maybe...
Yeah, I mean, I just think it would have been nice if he actually read the fucking article. For him to say he pays attention to all this stuff.
obviously, because, you know, I covered that whole trial and shit. Maybe I get fed a lot more of that information. But, yeah, I've seen it probably 3 or 4 times. Like, I'm always keeping up with drama and shit like that. Used to believe that's good because they should prove the guy is guilty and not take her word as an absolute truth. Well, it's the same easy perspective, right? Trust but verify. You should trust that people, like, because you can't have a system where you assume everybody is a liar. But, like, there's a spectrum of, like, assuming somebody is telling the truth versus prosecuting the other person as if they are telling the truth. You know what I mean? And so I think that's what the difference is. And I think that's common. It's common sense. And most people probably think like that. It's innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, that's true. Russell has multiple accusers. Yeah, true. Again, like, my biggest criticism is that Asmongold didn't actually read the article, which I think sets people up for, like, a disaster. Like, you should have read that article if you wanted to actually talk about this, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. So what happened to innocent until proven guilty? Well, I mean, we're talking, and this is, again, right? There's the court and there's the court of public opinion. These are 2 different things. So I think until Russell Brand gets charged with something, I'm not really going to have a lot of frustration about this. And I think YouTube made a mistake by demonetizing him, because it sets a frame of reference of every other thing on their platform that is monetized, and the people that are in it that are problematic, that could also be bad or worse than Russell Brand, and they're making money. So why is him not making money? And it just kind of feeds into the narrative that, like, YouTube is trying to, like, push an agenda. And so yeah, I think it was a mistake for YouTube to do this, because now people are going to start talking about it more. It's dumb. That's because YouTube's pushing an agenda? Sure, but I'm just saying, like, they don't want to know people. They don't want.
Well, I mean, everybody's pushing an agenda. I mean, the agenda, I would assume that the reason YouTube pulled out is because they were afraid of advertisers pulling out of their platform. And that's the agenda they're pushing, is they want to maintain advertisers. I frankly don't think YouTube gives a singular fuck about anything except for making money, which, like, most businesses do. So
people that know they're pushing an agenda, you right? Rumble CEO message on your Reddit. No, let me see. Where is it? A disturbing letter from a committee chair of the UK Parliament. Rumble obviously deplores sexual assault, rape, all serious crimes. Yesterday, YouTube announced, based solely on these media accusations, was barring Mr. Brand from monetizing his video content. Rumble stands for very different values. We have denoted ourselves in the vital case of defending free speech. Okay, if we regard it as deeply inappropriate or dangerous, the UK Parliament would attempt to control who is allowed to speak on our platform or earn a living from doing so. So this is the UK. Okay, so this is what Parliament sent Rumble, right? This is actually what I want to see. Dear Chris. Chris is the guy. He's the Rumble guy. And writing concerning serious allegations. Content provider on Rumble, 1.4 million followers. Culture, Media, and Sports Committee is raising questions with the broadcasters. Previously employed Mr. Brand to examine both the culture and the industry, looking at his use of social media on Rumble, where he issued his preemptive response. We recognize Rumble is not the creator of the content published by Mr. Brand. We're concerned that he may be able to profit from his content on the platform. We would be grateful if you could confirm whether Mr. Brand is able to monetize his content, including his videos related to the serious accusations against him. Okay. If so, we would like to know if Rumble intends...
I mean, like, from a legal perspective, like, they're just accusations at this point, right? Like, I can personally believe them, but I would never push, because I do, but I wouldn't push, like, a lawsuit or anything if I was part of Parliament or whatever bullshit they got going on over there and go, like, he needs to be demonetized. Like, I wouldn't do that. I would, like, push for the police to investigate properly. It seems like that's the avenue that needs to be pushed through, is, like, urge the police to look into this matter. And you want to know what? Lean more resources into it if you want. Put more resources into confirming or denying these allegations to the best of the ability that can happen. And if unfortunately too much time has passed to confirm anything, that is the unfortunate reality of life, and it's a terrible thing. But, you know, that's where the avenue you need to lean down. So...
to join YouTube and suspending Mr. Brand's ability to earn money on the platform. We'd also like to know...
But this sounds like if Rumble got some kind of a letter from the politic people, if Rumble got some kind of a letter, though, it leads me to personally believe that they might have been pressuring... They might be actively trying to pressure different platforms to reduce the ability for... Tell me if my stream starts acting weird. But it seems like they're trying to pressure different organizations, and that might be why YouTube said, fuck it, we're not even going to fuck around, let's just remove them, you know? That's what it communicates to me.
Rumble is doing to ensure creators are not able to use the platform to undermine the welfare of victims, inappropriate and potentially illegal behavior. Yeah, I think this is completely fucking overstepping. This is massively fucking overstepping. Like, what is this is the government that is messaging a private fucking company trying to bully them into banning a person based off of something that's not even legally proven. You're the fucking government. You are the fucking government. If you think that he did this, put him in fucking jail. That's insane.
Exactly.
Like, why are you, like, you literally can fucking sign something. You can get people together. I mean, I guess not with a committee like this, but like, this is the fucking government. This is insane. Yeah, try him for fucking crimes if you think this is the case. What are you doing? I think YouTube did make decisions based on this mail. I think that's probably true, but it was a mistake. This is why you never trust the government. Maybe you're right, but yeah, it's political targeting. I think this is fucked up. I do.
Maybe. That's an interesting conversation. Is it political targeting? I mean, it could be. I don't know if I buy into that 100%. I don't know if I buy into the idea that this is like an active political target. I mean, it's possible. I mean, maybe the people in government think like, wow, Russell Brand's mentality is so toxic. Let's use this as an excuse to try to demonetize. I mean, if anything, I don't want to be the fucking conspiracy brain guy because I think Russell Brand did it. But if anything, for the government to reach out to private businesses in this way to pressure them to demonetize Russell Brand, to me, communicates that they don't think that they have enough to put him in jail. And that they're just saying, well, and this is all speculative, but this to me communicates that they don't think they have enough to put him in jail. So they're going to try to hit him in his wallet and hope that by the time any type of trial or anything goes over, that it'll all kind of pass. So,
I really dislike the idea that like the government is trying to like message and tell private companies. And, like, again, the UK doesn't have freedom of speech. So it's not the same thing as the US. But
based US.
I would say, like, ethically, I think this is problematic. It is. It is problematic whenever the government comes in and tells them, huh? You don't have freedom of speech in the UK. You don't. No, you don't. Look it up. Yeah, you don't have it either? I think we have the freedom of speech that's outlined in the Bill of Rights.
I'm not super educated on the UK. My understanding is that like defamation laws are more, you can lean into those more as an organization than you can in America. So, but I'm not 100%.
Like, we don't have the freedom to say whatever the fuck we want, but we have the freedom of speech that's outlined in the Bill of Rights. I'm not allowed to lie about Nazi crimes. That's true. Yep, that's right, because you don't have freedom of speech. That's why. And so anyway, the point is that...
I mean, some argue that might be a good thing that you're not allowed to lie about those types of crimes. So, based UK, maybe?
I still think the government trying to fucking strong-arm a company into banning somebody or demonetizing somebody, suppressing somebody based off of an allegation is extremely concerning, and I don't think anybody should listen to these fucking clowns at all. I think this is a massive fucking W for Rumble, completely ignoring this, putting them on blast, tweeting this out, and the people who fucking sent...
Well, sure, but that's in line with Rumble's brand. Like, they're obviously going to do that because they're like the super like pro freedom of speech where like all the degenerates go and flock to.
This letter shouldn't be employed there ever again.
Fuck, that's not what I want to do. Fuck.
That's what I fucking think. I think this is a joke. Maybe if you give an example of something, all other things being equal that can get done in the UK, with free speech may quell some of the unrest. It's based on unproven shit, should be illegal. That they tell them what to do is still based on unproven shit. I think that it's both, right? I mean, it's that you're telling them what to do and it's based on unproven shit. That's it. You think YouTube just bans people when advertisers feel like they're a brand risk? I don't think so. I think YouTube preemptively bans people if they could be a brand risk. I think YouTube is extremely fucking scared of having any attention on it. And so YouTube...
And to be honest with you, I get that, to be honest with you, because they had the whole adpocalypse. And so even if it's not right, you know, I almost sometimes I guess I appreciate it, but I wouldn't if it was me in that situation. So I guess I shouldn't be talking like that. But I can almost like, I kind of like, yeah, they don't want to get demonetized again and have like a massive issue. I think YouTube has positioned itself pretty well in like a fairly comfortable spot. Where you know they're the best in my opinion for creators. They're the best video platform. They're the best shorts platform. I'm not saying that you get the most viral, but they actually pay really well. Whereas like TikTok pays like shit, and Instagram Reels, to my understanding, has just completely removed their payment flow. And I think it's because YouTube pays so well that if you're like, okay, I'm going to make YouTube Shorts, excuse me, you're going to post it on Instagram and TikTok anyway, just for the outreach. So I think that's where that comes from. But and I think that they're the best streaming service. I like the audience more. It's more balanced on here than it is on Twitch. I haven't used Kicker or Rumble. I think Rumble's probably dog shit, really, just for people who just can't function anywhere else. So I don't care about that. But Kick, it might be all right. I don't know, for my audience at least, where I'm just kind of like a dude chilling. I'm not really looking for like a younger male audience. I'm not against having a younger male audience. Like, that's cool, man. I appreciate, individuals like that, but I feel like there's a more diverse audience here. So I think that YouTube's killing it on all fronts. Except I wish they would fucking process my HD videos faster, but hey, what are you gonna do? But outside of that, like, yeah, that's probably why they're so adamant about keeping their shit.
YouTube acts extremely conservatively with anything that could make them look bad. So like, for example, COVID-19 misinformation, right? Any misinformation about COVID-19, insta-ban. Why is that? Do you think YouTube gives a fuck about COVID? No.
I think that they reduced their restrictions on that, haven't they?
Of course not. They only give a fuck about making money. So advertisers don't want to be next to
Yeah,
them.
I get that. I think that my understanding is the government was being a little pressuring for that too, because there was a lot of mis and disinformation about COVID going on that was causing people to die. If you want to say like, hey, you should be able to express your freedom of speech, I respect that, and I do. But, there are people that were dying because people just were like, I don't want to wear a mask. The science doesn't support it. Yes, it does. You're just being stupid. You know what I mean? I knew people that have died, and, I worked during it. It was horrific, frankly. So people are just being stupid. So I think that they were trying to quell that because we were in the pandemic. It was more, I think people tend to underestimate it because a lot of us were just like sitting home and not doing anything. But like for the people that were out and about and having to work, like my uncle passed away. It's fucked up, man. It was horrible. It was more serious. And so when it comes to that, I have a little bit like I have a different opinion on it, I guess.
And then so they get rid of it. YouTube had no problem having that ElsaGate weird shit on YouTube until ElsaGate happened.
I guess.
You think YouTube didn't know about that? Of course they knew about that. It just wasn't a priority for them. It's political. How many of you guys, let me ask y'all a question. How many of you guys think the Russell brand, all this stuff is political? So I speak on it? Well, I mean,
I don't. I think that it's, I read the actual article, so I'm obviously more trusting of it.
I know UK is a country. It doesn't mean I know everything inside of the country. Like if I tell you it's a country and you say it's not, I mean, it still makes you wrong. Like I have a basic understanding of this. I'm surprised there's so many people that are trying to fight me on this. I really am. Because you're wrong? No, I'm not. I'm like literally not wrong though. Why don't you guys do this? Why don't you investigate the topic and prove me wrong? Why don't you do that?
I mean, I would argue that you should have. I'm surprised they didn't put this in their out of context. I mean, you should have done that already. This would have made a great out of context clip for them to add to that weird thing on Hasan subreddit. But I think that you should do that, brother. Like,
why don't you prove me wrong?
You should do that.
And
dude.
in the process of trying to prove me wrong, you will educate yourself. I'm actually doing you a favor. So go ahead. Article recognizes and enshrines long-withstanding privilege of parliament, freedom of speech and debate, absolute privilege.
They're not talking about Russell Brand anymore. They're talking about freedom of speech. My bad.
Y'all have like the freedom to have different political.
They still could have used it as like an out of context clip, but
like, do you really? So if you have freedom of speech, then how did that guy get fined for having his dog do a Nazi salute? How did that happen? A dog isn't a human? Well, they didn't arrest the dog. They arrested the human. Nice try. If you haven't looked at the expose, there's hard evidence, including a kit, text where he admits where he's wrong, does testimonies, it's as damning as it can get. Then I think they should put him on trial and he should be convicted, go to jail.
Sure.
I totally agree with you. Like, I have no investment in the outcome of this. I don't care. Like, if he's guilty, then he should go to jail. Like, I don't, like, what, you think I care about this shit? The text show he didn't wear a condom and a girl regretted it? Not, I don't know. I mean, like, regret sex is not telling a girl you're gonna have a condom and you don't. I think that's a weird gray area.
No, I don't agree with that. That's not a weird gray area. It's not. I don't know if I would call that sexual assault to like tell a girl you have a condom and then take it off. I mean, but I think it is. It's something. It's something very inappropriate. It's something wrong. I think saying it's, I think that we should be more adamant about how disgusting that is. Because for a man, it doesn't really seem like it's a big deal to just take a condom off. And the reason is because you're the man and you're taking the condom off and you have that choice to take the condom off. And for us, it's not even fucking conceivable to be like, imagine the girl took the condom, because that couldn't happen. But that a man, like these women are like, well, I only will have sex with you if you wear a condom, and then they're taking them off and you're removing their ability to make informed consent. I don't think it's sexual assault, but it's something very sexually inappropriate. I think it's disgusting. Frankly, I think it should be. I think it is illegal. It should be illegal. You should be able to get arrested for it. I don't think that you should go to jail for life, but you should be able to get arrested for that. You know, you're removing somebody's informed consent. You can give them an STD. I think it's incredibly disgusting behavior at the very least. I don't know. Again, I don't know if I'd classify it as sexual assault. I don't think it's important whether it is or isn't in this, just for the sake of this current conversation. But it's important that it's something that I think is illegal and should be illegal. I think it's called selving, right? And I think that we need to educate a lot of young men at like taking it much more. I think it's classified in California. I don't know about everywhere else, but I think that we should teach young men like what you're doing is disgusting. What you're doing is a violation of boundaries of women and other people. Or if you're a gay dude plowing ass, like it's still a violation of that gay dude's asshole. You know, don't be doing that shit. But I think that selfing is disgusting, and I think that a male perspective on it isn't like it's usually downplays it because it doesn't get it. It doesn't necessarily get how like absolutely nasty that kind of shit is. But it is, man. It is.
I don't know where I don't know. I think that's fucking weird, at least, right?
Yeah, sure.
That's very weird. He denied doing wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, no
Bodily
shit.
harm. Yeah, I haven't thought about that. I'd have to think that one out. It's illegal to remove a condom during sex when she thinks there is one, but just not having one when she knows it isn't illegal. Yeah, that's the thing. Basically, there's what's this here? Oh my god, they consented to something and it was something else. Yeah, no, I'm just reading some comments here.
Fuck.
The ladies only came forward for the money. Yeah, people say that about anything, though. Like, some dude can be on camera literally, like, fucking killing somebody or beating the shit out of them, and then somebody is gonna come on and be like, oh, that's fake. Bro, I've seen better things like that in a movie. Yeah, that's a movie. Paid off by the media? Yeah, they're paid off, bro. Like, absolutely. So, like, as CGI, that's fake. Yeah. And that's really, that's the way I see it, right? Is it doesn't even really matter about the facts for that kind of stuff, right? People are already going to make their mind up coming into it. Conservatives defend him because he talks about certain topics, but then if it was
yeah, no, conservatives defend him because they do talk about certain topics, and then on top of that, conservatives are fucking conspiracy brains. So like everything that they don't want to exist is a conspiracy. Global warming is a conspiracy. COVID was a conspiracy. Fucking trans people are everything is a fucking conspiracy. But it's the truth.
Trans, they would trust the media. I have no idea.
That is
like all
true.
I'm saying is that
that's 1,000% correct.
Like I think that you know, if this dude is guilty, you should get convicted and put in jail, not demonetized on YouTube. It's that simple.
Well,
Under Article 10 of the Human Rights Act, everyone has a right to freedom of expression. In the UK, you're wrong. Stardew Demon, I know you typed that 7 times. You're going to type that 5 more times. Why don't you educate yourself about what the limitations of that are? Look into some of the exceptions and, you know, see the things that people can get arrested for, fined for, etc. And then ask yourself, do you really have freedom of speech? Go ahead. Go ahead. Do yourself a favor. He's still posting it? I know. He's a bot, man. What do you expect? Go to jail for a tweet in the UK? Yeah, fuck, like, I hear about that all the time. I don't know how true it is, but I hear about it a lot. Does overseas cats get upset real quick about their rights? I would be too. Yeah, we fought a whole war over that shit. Yeah, we were upset about that shit too. I don't blame them. Yeah, that's fucked up.
Okay. Yeah, not real. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, okay. Not much to say. Again,
I have not watched anything.
Who the fuck are you, dude? To be honest with you, like, again, I read the actual article. I feel like there's a higher chance that he did it than not. But I agree with what Asmongold is saying. Like, if they think that something is happening, the government should be pressuring police to investigate. They should not be pressuring businesses to demonetize. I think that's just stupid. And again, to me, if I was conspiracy brained, I could see why people would be like, I don't think he did it, because why would they go in this avenue? Why would they pressure businesses to remove his monetization rather than to pressure people to actually arrest him? I guess we could watch this reaction. He does another one. It's a follow-up video. Curious about it. I'll put this in the thing as well. We can talk about this. Sure, let's go.
Hasan Piker fans completely slander Asmongold. What is this?
They suck his
hey guys,
cock
real quick,
off.
This is the Hasan Piker subreddit. This user
Hey guys.
with a name that I cannot say made like a semi-highly upvoted post or whatever on the subreddit.
Is 198 highly upvoted? I don't know how upvotes work on that fucking cancer platform.
People are laying into Asmongold, and as somebody who hates Asmongold, I was, you know, looking to.
Uh-oh. Somebody doesn't like React streamers. Somebody doesn't like abased React streamers.
I'm gonna find something funny I can post to Twitter. I think that'd be good. And this is not that. Now, Asmongold gave an incredible take on Russell Brand, and I need you to see.
I was okay. Glazins, it was okay. Again, I think you should have actually read the fucking article, but that's why that was fun.
How hard this Hasan fan fucking clipped this to like make him look like he's like pro rape or something. Like he's an insane fucking thing. I haven't seen something clip this bad.
Obviously, a lot of people instantly defend him.
I don't even think Asmongold has a penis. There's no way he's pro rape, bro. Get the fuck out of here, dude. What the hell?
And then a lot of people also go and...
If I was Asmongold rich, dude, I would probably be a fucking animal. I'm so thankful that I found my wife, because if I do hit it big and become rich based on my content, at least I won't be a fucking disgusting dog. I'm actually happy about that.
Instantly attack him, because Russell Brand is a polarizing guy. Now, I actually kind of like Russell Brand and a lot of things that he's said. Like, I have a positive viewpoint of Russell Brand overall, right? I don't think he's a bad dude, if that makes sense. And I think that every single time that something like this happens and none of the accusations stick, which I kind of think that they won't stick with Russell Brand. I'm going to be honest. I think they're not going to stick. I don't think he's going to go to jail. And if Russell Brand doesn't go to jail, then he didn't do it. Yep.
Okay, that is like...
Yeah, the insinuation is Asmongold agrees with that, when the reality is that like he's talking about public perception will perceive it as such. So sure.
The hardest clip ever. Like, that clip ends so ridiculously hard, right? You can tell that there's just context missing. But because we're arguing with this straw man,
a lot of
everybody on this fucking Reddit is like...
How is that bad? Well, I mean, like, again, it is...
The entire thing insinuates that Asmongold is completely downplaying it and wouldn't believe it even if there was evidence to support it. At least that's the energy I get from that clip. Whereas the reality is he seems like he doesn't seem particularly invested in the story. Like, he doesn't have a personal connection to it. He doesn't necessarily care, which I can appreciate when people say, I don't care about this topic. I appreciate that online, instead of having a forced performative take like, oh my God, this is fucking horrible. You know, and like I read through it, and it was reading through it was upsetting, but I don't think everybody has to think that everything is fucking the most important goddamn thing in the entire world, and like masturbate and come all over themselves and they think it's the most important thing, you know. So
and it's not. So it shouldn't be bad, but it is, because the justice system is inconsistent with punishment.
Why is this one loud?
So just because somebody gets away or somebody gets convicted doesn't necessarily mean justice was served.
True.
If that makes sense. That's why people are unhappy about it.
Yeah, and I guess he could have added that in for context. I kind of just assumed he meant that when I listened to it, because he wasn't saying that. He was really just making a broad perspective about how that's how it will be perceived. So
this is the most brain-dead take ever, and only abuse simps preemptively state that a lack of guilty verdict is the same as innocent.
A lack of guilty verdict is the same as innocence. Well, it is, actually. Yeah, because you're innocent before proven guilty, or until proven guilty.
Well, Asmin doesn't even agree with what he's saying. It's like a weird... I know what he's saying. He's saying from a legal perspective. The person having a meltdown in the comment is talking about morally. Like, but Asmin just said, at least that's what it sounded like, that he's like, yeah, sometimes people don't get the justice that they're due, and so like Asmin does agree with that person morally, I guess, just not legally.
Excuse me. Yeah. So like, actually, ironic that they would say that. Yeah, very ironic.
Basically, what this Hasan person wants you to think is that Asmongold has undying support in the police. I don't know why. I don't know the justification. Maybe it's just...
Oh, I'll throw fuel on the fire. I am in general a supporter of the police. I think that we need them.
Sure.
I think the amount of escalation and hostility for the police has done no benefits for anybody in the culture.
Kind of based,
and it's been very bad.
I mean...
I think the best thing that we could do for the police is to have better accountability for them. I think every police officer should have a body cam. I think there should be much more accountability.
I think we should stream it on Twitch.
There should be
$100 to shoot that gentleman, sir. You know, I mean, they're already getting paid to kill minorities. You know what I mean? Might as well. Okay, this one's just going. This one's getting out of hand. Okay, this is a criticism of the police, but you know.
Independent review from police officers for people that do things that are wrong. And I think this is in the benefit of everybody.
I personally would be extra woke, and I would donate money to them to harass a white person for a change, because that's just the kind of nice guy that I am.
In society, because whenever a police officer does something bad and they get sued, you, the taxpayer, pay for it. So yeah, I massively support the police, and I also massively support accountability for the police.
Yeah, I think like everything else, some of these narratives go too far. Like there needs to be accountability for police. Police are pretty fucked in a lot of cases. But sure, yeah. I mean, I agree.
You need the police.
Because he said he liked Russell Brand.
I do need the police. You ever see them perform live? Whew, beautiful stuff.
So we had to slander him. But like this,
More training too. 6 months is not enough. I talked to somebody who was a
Sure.
police officer, and they said that
I also don't think that. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, Sharon.
6 month or small time period of police training is actually, and I'm not stating this as a fact. This is just what I've heard. So I'm not sure about this.
Sure.
But what they said is that there are different levels of police training requirements. There's like a federal requirement and a state requirement. And the other requirement, whichever one it is much more comprehensive. That's what they told me.
The state one is probably more comprehensive, and they need to make it a more federally comprehensive thing. And then the training needs to never end. Because as a job like I think anybody at any job is going to start to hate their job. And start acting inappropriately in different ways, especially if you're dealing with certain people every single day. And you need to have like some form of empathy training to make sure that you get your shit together. I mean, that whole thing with that 11-year-old girl was like manipulated into sending pictures to some adult man. And the fucking police officer was like, you know, your daughter could go to fucking jail for that. It's like, what are you, a psychopath? That's insane. Like, very clearly, that's a demonstration where police are, you know, that's clearly that cop needed empathy training to be like so like disgustingly downplay that. And I can only assume that the reason that they did that is because they are just so, I don't know, like they're just so worn down by the job and so, you know, beaten up that they would say some dumb shit like that. Dumb, insensitive shit.
So I'm not going to immediately take that number just as biblical fact, but I'm not saying that you're totally wrong either. I genuinely don't know. But I do think that it's more complicated.
Whole post, several women have come forward about horrific experiences. Why is it just so hard for people not to interrupt them? Yeah. I was hoping his take on
Well, they weren't talking to me. I didn't interrupt anybody.
Russell Brand would actually be incredible. I should have known better. His knowledge is only video games. Like, I mean, none of these people know what he actually.
True, but let's be real. I saw Asmongold get some criticism. He doesn't even know. He doesn't even play live WoW anymore, and he criticizes it constantly. You know what I mean? That's what McConnell said. So, you know, maybe Asmon doesn't even know fucking video games, dude. Maybe he's a stinky little bitch. I'm just kidding.
Said, but we do. Take a look at.
It's impressive that people think that all I know is video games whenever they're on Reddit all day. Like,
that's actually very funny. True. These fucking Redditors don't know shit. They're on Reddit every fucking day. They don't do a goddamn thing.
I've always found this to be odd that people that are like terminally online think that they have any sort of a better grasp on things because they work some dead-end job.
Dude, you know, I have my wife. Listen, I'm not trying to be a fucking asshole, but my wife's best friend has a husband, and you know, I found out that this guy goes on Reddit, and frankly, I just don't. If you're a Redditor, I can't. It's hard to respect that person that's on fucking Reddit all day. Updude. I mean, I know I look like a fucking Redditor, but you know, I'm more of a Discord moderator. You know, I would never be a Redditor. I'm a Discord mod, though. You know what I mean? And that's obviously the more dignified, classy thing, because you've never heard of a person that was able to talk to their kitten on a Reddit thread. That's ridiculous. They're probably not even real girls. I, on the other hand, manage multiple Discords, 7 of them to be exact, for multiple different things. Okay, you can see my entire massive Discord list right here. Look at this. I monitor every one of those Discords. Okay, and I have, and don't tell any of my kittens I said this, but I have multiple kittens across all 7. Some of them belong to the same Discord together. You can imagine how awkward those conversations get when both of them are in there, because neither of them know. But I've masterfully told the 2 of them not to publicly express anything, just in case someone starts snooping around and asks some preposterous thing like, how old are you? I'm kidding. Holy Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Okay.
And if Russell Brand doesn't go to jail, then he didn't do it, right? That's and I'm not telling you like.
Damn,
well, they also forget that there's also another component to this. where I was talking about how I liked Russell Brand, I also disclaimed that I hadn't watched him in like over 5 years.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
So this isn't even the only part of it that's intentionally inaccurate. The beginning part is also inaccurate because I had explicitly stated I used to watch The Trues, which was a show that Russell Brand used to do like literally 10 years ago on YouTube, and I thought that was nice. Like, that was actually what I was talking about. I was contextualizing it around that. And I told people, like, explicitly I hadn't kept up with him for literally years. I think, I'm telling you what people are going to think, is that if he doesn't go to jail, he didn't do it. It's that simple.
Yeah.
So, if this goes and happens, it's just going to be another point where people, it's going to strengthen people's reflex to automatically think that
people working those jobs make it so he can play video games and not shower for a living. That is kind of true. That is also a base take. Thank you, Violet.
are liars. You see what I'm saying? Just like OJ went to jail. And also, tons of people think OJ didn't do it. Also, tons of people don't give a
bottle
fuck.
opener? No, it's a twist off.
And also, sexual crimes are seen differently than
Come
violent crimes.
on.
That's just the way society is. His reputation's already done.
Dude, have you ever seen somebody clip so fucking maliciously? They cut it on fucking this!
With Russell Brand, I'm going to be honest, I think they're not going to stick. I don't think he's going to go to jail. And if Russell Brand doesn't go to jail, then he didn't do it. Well, it was deliberately misrepresented 2 times.
That's one of those things too, where it's like, I wonder if they intentionally misrepresented it, or if those people are fucking stupid and didn't know what they were talking about and like just heard it wrong because they're dumb people. This is one of the things about the internet too, is that you have to qualify every fucking thing that you say, because there is something to be said that like when you talk to anything, you're talking to potentially the entire world, especially as a large streamer. You should probably be used to this. I'm not, so but you're talking to the entire world. And, I qualify a lot of what I say, and sometimes I'll over-explain, because every time you hear a word or a phrase, you might be parsing, you may be parsing that differently with your life experience. And, your different life experience might come to the same conclusions as mine, which is great, or maybe yours doesn't come to the same conclusion. And so when you hear, like, Asmongold say something like, oh, if it's illegal, or if he doesn't get convicted, he didn't do it, the first thing you might think, you might get so fucking triggered you don't like hear the context where he kind of indirectly explains that he's like, at least that's how people are going to perceive it. You might just get triggered beyond belief and go, oh my god, this guy actually believes this, fuck him, blah 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 blah. Whereas, obviously if you just listen for another second, or rather if you had just like calmed down and actually like took in what he said, you would hear something that is like differently, a much more nuanced take. But again, I think that some people will get I think it's part of the way it's the difficulty in potentially communicating his experience. It's possible that they would have like sensationalized this and taken this out of context regardless. It's also possible that like they're dumb fucking assholes that needed like everything explained to them and spoon fed to them because they're stupid as shit.
Deliberately misrepresented my opinion about Russell Brand, and it also deliberately misrepresented what my judgment of Russell Brand being guilty was. And this is just like, and again, like anybody can clip you out of context like this. Like, I don't really take this personally. I don't really, like, I appreciate Nicholas sticking up for me. This is nice to see, because I think everybody hates this shit. Even if it's somebody that you don't necessarily agree with, it's really annoying to see this. And so I do appreciate it, but the truth is that, like, this is what happens to me all the time. It happens to me constantly. And so I'm not, like, it's annoying to me. It's disappointing, but it's also expected. It's deliberate misinformation. It is.
Holy fuck,
Who clipped
dude.
that? Just some Redditors.
How does this, like, stay up? This has been up for 10 hours? He isn't even very good at video games. He plays a lot, but doesn't hold any ranks.
True, me too, bro. I don't give a fuck, though. I'm still getting paid.
People like him because...
I love how people view being good at video games or being bad at video games as, like, a personal flaw.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Asmongold had a bad take about sexual assault. Well, you know what? He fucking sucks at games, too. It's like, wow, that's the priority here. If you ask me, that definitely is the priority we need to be operating with,
Like, this is like a personal shortcoming. You're not even good at video games. What? It's a video game. What do you mean?
he embodies the man-child pseudo-intellectual that personifies many men and children on the right. Oh,
yeah, they think
he's a right-winger, so
yeah.
you get to lie about him. Like, this is just fucking psychotic, dude.
True, though,
Holy
guys.
shit. What
True,
the fuck?
guys. Fuck the right wing.
Oh, yeah, people are very unhappy about that.
Wing.
You're just waiting for a special moment to attack you and hate you for no reason. Go figure. I mean, I don't really take any of this stuff personally. It's just kind of how things go. You know, a lot of times people get pissed off about this kind of stuff and everything like that. It's just, it's very common. And whenever you're online and you're talking about, you know, like the Russell Brand thing is a really big hot button issue. So people are really emotionally invested in it. So the moment that I don't immediately say the exact fucking line that's going to make them happy, they assume that I'm pro-rape. And so that's just, I mean, people are just like, they're so emotionally conditioned to react like a psychotic, vitriolic child anytime that they hear something that isn't in line with the propaganda that they're used to feeding them.
Yeah, man, I'm used to that. Like somebody said in the chat, people online hate when you don't rage with them or join their mob. Absolutely, 1000%. I mean, I've had my interactions with that as well. I think it takes a while to understand how fucking dumb some people are and how toxic the people are, and how it's like it's not even worth getting stressed about how fucking stupid people's like backlash against you is about some topics if you don't agree with them, especially when they're fucking wrong and you know that they're wrong and they're just dumb as shit. It's just sort of the things that you learn. Like, yeah, people are gonna take it out of context, and you just take it with stride, and you just who gives, like, you really just can't care. You say that's not true, and you just move on, because nothing you say is ever, nothing Asmongold said would probably change the mind of any person that was in that original thread, because they don't care. Like that, they've already made their decision. They're completely beheld to like an anchor bias of like whatever fucking moron put that up there. They're looking to be outraged as well. I think that's a factor. People want to be outraged about something. A lot of times, like at least some unhealthy people, like those people on Reddit, they want to be outraged by something. That's why they're crawling around fucking Hasan Reddit threads, because they're looking to be offended. That's their whole entire life, is just being emotionally provoked. Nothing gets them off anymore. No, sad movies don't give them a tear. In life relationships don't draw any emotion, because they're fucking losers that are so conditioned by ridiculous, like a sensationalized, hyperbolic Reddit stories, that's the only thing that'll get their fix of like serotonin or whatever other fucking brain chemical that they desperately look for. But that's why they can't hold a relationship with a partner, because they're just rotted. They've rotted their fucking brain, constantly looking for the next thing to be outraged and offended by and to bitch about and virtue signal about. That's all it really boils down to.
Themselves. So, I mean, again, like, I don't really take this kind of stuff personally. I appreciate Nicholas calling it out. And the truth is that I see this stuff all the time. It happens, like different newspapers will misrepresent, or not newspapers, right? They're mainly online places. Will like misrepresent something I say or take something out of context. The truth is that it really doesn't affect me, and it doesn't really matter, because the way that I look at it is that I know what I'm saying is accurate. I know what I'm saying is true. And I know that I'm not a bad person. I know that I'm not a malicious, bad actor. So anytime that somebody misrepresents me or says something like that, I just assume that the truth will prevail eventually. And if it doesn't, it doesn't matter, because I'm still going to go live today, whatever that day is going to be. I'm still going to do what I'm going to do. I'm still going to play the games. I'm still going to watch what I'm going to watch. I'm going to play what I'm going to play. And there's nothing they can fucking do about that. So if people want to cry and get mad about what I say on Twitter, then that's their problem and not mine. Like, a lot of times I don't even read these threads. They're not even worth my time. Sometimes I do, but, you know, usually I don't. I like reading 4chan threads about myself more, because at least those people are more entertaining and more interesting. Redditors are just very, very moral grandstanding. I don't like that. I find it to be very...
Yeah, I mostly use 4chan for porn if I ever go on there, because I feel like that's the only thing that's really left on there now.
You know, because like you have like a profile on Reddit, so like people feel like they have like this obligation to say the right thing, but on 4chan you can just say whatever you want and there's no accountability for it. So it actually makes people a lot more free and funnier. Yeah, it's so pretentious. Yeah, it's so self-righteous. I don't like them. That goes for your subreddit as well.
It's interesting though, because both have their own anonymity. Like when you're on Reddit, you're still anonymous. You just have an anonymous profile that you can tie stuff to virtue signal about.
Well, I mean, my subreddit is on Reddit, so of course there's going to be people like that on my Reddit. Yeah.
I really want to kill these.
They're mad at me because I said Dragon's Dogma 2 looks good. Oh, it does look good. Yeah, I think it does. It's crazy that so many people like get that upset. And like anytime that people they agree, they just hate that you like it too. So like they hate that they have to true me.